Sunday. Absolutely horrendous. Terrible. We'll dive into it in a few minutes, but I'm Tyler. I'm joined alongside
Daniel. How's it going, guys?
What's up?
Obviously a tough game, but we're here to
Yeah.
talk about it. I mean, bad games are always followed by a good podcast, so that's what we're going to offer you guys, and that's, I guess, the good thing, no matter what. Win or loss, Tyler and I love just coming here and talking to you guys about it, so helps us with the pain, right? Helps us a little bit with the pain.
Definitely does help us with the pain. You know, that I kind of told you guys last week, I got the privilege to go to the game on Sunday with my girlfriend's family. It was a lot of fun. Tailgate was awesome. Cuppy Coffee winning the Dunkin' race really did make my day. But that Bears game was absolutely horrendous. It was probably one of the worst Bears games I've ever seen in my life, and I had to witness it in person. So it was. I know, dude.
I know. We had such high hopes for you, dude.
Dude.
Everything should have went right this game. Everything should have went right. There's no reason why it went poorly.
Yeah, but nothing went right for the Bears that game at all. There was just no momentum. There was no urge to win for the Bears whatsoever, and it was just a bad game all around, man. It was unfortunately it was a really bad game, but you know what? We live to see another day. The Bears live to see another week. Obviously, we'll talk about the schedule going in. It's going to be a bit of a roller coaster for the Bears kind of the next few weeks. We have some tough teams coming up against, beginning of the schedule for the year was a little easy for the Bears. Titans, Texans were a bit of a harder team. We had the Panthers. I was just about to name the Patriots, but we lost to them. But, Dan, what do you think about, I know we're going to get into next week a little bit later, but kind of toward the end of this week, how you kind of feeling as a Bears fan right now?
I mean, it's week 11, right?
Yeah.
Week 11, it's gone by so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many games and so many things that we covered and so many changes that need to be made. Here we are, week 11, finally witnessing the first change this season. And we're going to go over that a little bit. Short term, Bears got a new offensive coordinator, new play caller. We've been here before as Bears fans. It's like the third play caller we've seen in 2 years, so it's not anything new. Eberflus counting 4 technically, so 4 play callers. It was a brutal loss this week, and that's it's mandatory to win these low games. That if Caleb isn't going to produce well enough in these high pace games, then the low pace games should be already a win for us. That's no doubt. But the Bears have dropped 3 straight losses following the 19-3 meltdown. Meltdown is the word I'm going to use. It was an absolute meltdown. It was a loss at home versus the number 3 overall pick QB Drake May and the Patriots. It was just disgusting. This is not the way to play football at home too, specifically. Tyler, I am so sorry as a Chicago fan from one to another. That was disgusting. And I hate to relive it, but unfortunately we won't have to relive it that much because I mean, 3 bad games in a row. How much can we cover? What kind of adjustments can we cover? We'll go into the details. We're more so excited to talk about this week's matchup. It is Packer week. Screw the Packers. Go Bears.
Hell yeah.
Go Pack. Go home. So it's kind of we have a brand new atmosphere into the building here, and we're a bit excited for this week's matchup just because of the energy. It's a little bit different. Bears can always play somewhat of a good game, but we've also seen some horrible losses at home versus the Packers. But going back to this game, I mean, it was a bad game. It was some of the worst offensive projections we've ever seen.
I think this was the worst offensive game for the Bears I've seen in probably the last 5 years. It was pretty rough.
There's a stat that I saw online here that shows in a 2-game stretch, this is the worst offensive game plan we've had in a 2-game stretch since 2002. We've scored 12 points in 2 games.
Yeah.
And then you can add the 15 we had against Washington. So it's roughly, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 30 points. It's still pretty bad. It's just disgusting. This isn't the way to play football. And Caleb's stretch of playing well at home that we've seen has officially come to an end, and his regression period is currently the period that we're in. He's had 3 pretty bad games, getting worse and worse each game. It's something's got to change here, and there has been a change, and we'll go into that. If you guys have any questions on the game or any ideas on how we felt of the game, or if you want to ask Tyler what his favorite part of the game was, which he already mentioned, right? Tyler got himself a nice old Dunkin' coffee.
That actually expires by the 17th. I just realized. I got to go.
He's got to get that. You have 2 days.
Get it tomorrow. I definitely got to go snag it tomorrow. But yeah.
Got to go snag that because that's gonna be the only takeaway that he gets from that game. Because I mean, we had one takeaway, but that was T.J. Edwards' interception. That was probably the only good part of the whole game.
The takeaway I got from this game that I got to talk about is me eating some steak sandwiches in the parking lot, tailgating beforehand, having a beer, just relaxing beforehand. It was a great bear down weather game. That's all I got to say. It was beautiful weather. There was rain in the forecast. We thought it was going to rain for maybe an hour or something like that. The rain like held off the whole entire time, which was awesome. And
it was just
cloudy. It was
cloudy up there, right?
a bit of an overcast. Sun kind of popped in and out, but it was a bit rough. The game in general was a bit rough. And like I said, the best part of the game was Cuppy Coffee winning the Duncan race, followed by, obviously tailgating that game. It was, the Bears fans were very emotional this game. They were very, very emotional. Lots of boos. I obviously hate to boo my team, but I had more boos than I did cheers. And if that's, the message that kind of has to go with this team, especially
at home. Yeah.
Against a 2-7 Patriots team, man. That's unexcusable. That's unacceptable. Exactly. But sorry to cut you off about that. I'm just game got me a little heated just because of what kind of happened during in the game.
You wasted your time. That's what's the worst part is that there's excitement going into it, and even though it's a 2-7 Patriots team, we have to keep every game simple and keep it a fair match. But I get it, dude. Like I would be absolutely fuming in your position just because like there was every single opportunity to play well this game, and it just didn't show out. Again, if you guys want an idea of how the Bears played, it's 3 points and like 8 different scoring drive opportunities, right? We're talking about opportunities. Didn't even get out of third down. It was a disgusting game. The entire game, we scored 1 field goal. We didn't even get into the red zone the entire game versus the Patriots defense that's pretty much bottom 10 in the league. After this game, they have now excelled into the top 15, which is absolutely disgusting. So we're going to go over some stats here just to give you another rough idea of why this team performed so poorly and where we can kind of see some adjustments, what players need to step up. Caleb Williams, 16 completions for 30 attempts, 120 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, sacked 9 times. We've seen this before. Justin in his first career game, do you remember that versus Cleveland? Sacked 9 times as well.
I really don't remember that game actually. I'm trying to think about it. I really don't, but I
tried to miss it out of my head. Sacked 9 times. He lost 51 yards on those 9 sacks. 2 rushes for 15 yards, a 63.2 passer rating, which is not horrible. It's not Will Levis, but it's definitely not.
It's bad.
What you want to see against this.
There's no touchdowns, no interceptions. He got sacked 9 times, and let me say that some of those sacks were Caleb's fault. I saw you sent me actually the post where somebody broke it down why he got sacked 9 times. Looked like Caleb was responsible for 2 of the sacks. Should have had a throwaway. 7 of those potentially were on the offensive line, not holding them up. Obviously, there was a lot of key injuries during this game, especially on the offensive line. I believe Tevin Jenkins was out this game. He got hurt in the middle of the game. Ankle injury. He was ruled out, and he's actually ruled out for next week. We'll talk about the injury report later on. But it was, a normal team has 8 offensive line usually going in, at least 8 offensive line for that game. The Bears had 7, and the Bears our offensive line has been trash for decent while now. It's some weeks have looked better than others, but we got to say 80% of the weeks are the Bears offensive line is trash. And it's having 7, especially when, Tevin Jenkins goes down, there you go, got 6. And there's a few other injuries coming in. You have the backup people. And then what happened, obviously right after the game or a day later, we'll talk about later, Nate Davis got released. So that's another offensive line that's already off the team. But yeah, it's 9 sacks for I almost said Justin Fields. Caleb Williams. It was bad. It was awful. Every time he got sacked, there was a boo from somebody. Could have been me. Could have been 20 other people around me. Right behind us was a Patriots fan. And even the Patriots fan looked at us was like, I'm sorry, guys. This is bad football. It was an overall bad game. Patriots didn't even perform well. The Bears obviously performed terrible. But just
bad, man.
Yeah, bad football. Bad football for a noon game at Soldier Field on a Sunday. Kind of going into this, the Bears were 3-0 as a home, 4-0 as a home field advantage. Technically, that London game was a home field advantage, but now they're 4-1. That was a really bad regress for, obviously they were far from home from a while, but
it was bad. It was bad. And going into some of these player stats here, DeAndre Swift also had a pretty bad game. I mean, not bad for football terms, but bad in terms of what he played previously. 16 carries for 59 yards, 1 catch for 6 yards. I'd like to see him get a little bit more of that passing down work just because in this game, especially Caleb getting sacked 9 times, it would be nice to just get, pick that up a little bit. 4 catches,
Exactly.
get him some 20 yards, a couple more first downs. Maybe could have given us a better score in the game. Kind of what I was hoping for. Cole Kmet, 2 catches for 4, 2 catches on 4 attempts, 13 yards. It's his first catch in 3 games.
Let me tell you something about this Cole Kmet. The Cole Kmet 2 catches. As soon as Cole Kmet got his first catch, I literally told my girlfriend's brother, who's sitting next to me, I said, "Look what happens when you throw him the ball. He catches it." And it just didn't, the only 2 catches for 13 yards. Obviously, it was a disaster game on the offense in general. But even somebody, I believe, who was standing in front of me was like, yeah, look what happens when you throw him the ball. Everybody has the same vision, man, where Cole Kmet.
Oh, yeah.
He's an amazing tight end. He's awesome. But it's just, you got to get him the ball, and he should be a main target for this team. Hopefully, we'll talk about it a little bit later. Obviously, there was a change at the coach position for the offensive side of the ball, the offensive coordinator. Now it's Thomas Brown, right? Thomas Brown, yeah. Yep. So he knows these weapons. I can tell that he's kind of frustrated with how Shane Waldron does this, and Cole Kmet could be a key target in the future. But yeah, Cole Kmet going 2 for 4, and then DJ Moore, going 3 of 6 for 24 yards. There was one play where I was watching, and he had one-on-one coverage. And I was like, this might be the play Caleb throws it deep. Caleb should have thrown it deep because he did take the sack right there. DJ Moore slumped his head down, and he was frustrated, and I could tell that he just was not about it whatsoever. He, a bunch of people checked out during this game, especially in the second quarter, dude. People are checked out in the second quarter
already.
Yep.
Yeah, already given up. It's disgusting.
But yeah,
he had that one play with a rush right for 3 yards. That also just disgusting play calling, just bad play calling, and we didn't have any of the lead blockers in the right position, and the running game wasn't going off to a great start. The best pass catcher of the game here was Keenan Allen. He had 5 catches for 6 attempts on 44 yards. That is his season high. 44 yards is Keenan Allen's season high in yards. He did have that one game with 2 touchdowns, and he only had, I think, 36 yards. This is his season high. So week 11, it's pretty disgusting going into the season. Remembering how set this offense was and how we were so excited to finally almost have 3 receivers reaching 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
We'd be lucky if we get 1 receiver to reach 1,000 yards this season. So Keelan Allen, 5 of 6, 44 yards. Roma Denze, 3 of 6, 3 catches for 6 yards, 23 yards. Really similar to DJ Moore's stat line. I mean, those players playing on the outside, they're not getting a lot of looks from Caleb. No. I think Caleb's really hesitant to throw the ball their way. DeAndre Carter got a catch. We're not even going to talk about those pass catchers because we have too many to talk about, and there's too many wasted targets. But some of the notable players on the defense here, TJ Edwards had a pretty good game, one of the best games of the season. He was the leading tackler with 12 tackles. He also had his first interception of the season. That came, I think, in the first or second quarter. That
was a very nice read by TJ Edwards. He knew where the ball was going to go. He got the quick jump on it, and he ended up intercepting the ball from Drake May. I forgot who the target was, but it was a great play by TJ Edwards right there. And leading tackler, he did do really well for what the defense could do because the offense couldn't stay on the field whatsoever.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then the only sack of the game, we only got 1 sack this game, was by Jacob Martin. I don't remember what quarter that was in, but again, pretty bad showing from the defense anyway, because if you're going to let the Patriots put up 19 points at home, especially with a differential of 16 points, there's not much to talk about there. So both sides of the ball definitely have some more effort they got put in. Special teams player, notable player, was obviously just Torrey Taylor. Season high 8 punts. 8 punts this week. 335 yards.
Kind of talking about this, man, like obviously what happened after the draft, talking about how Torrey Taylor and Caleb text back and forth. Caleb texted, Torrey, you're not going to be punting a lot this year, man. I think he probably should have used his words wisely. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, he probably should have.
He probably jinxed himself a little bit, especially his rookie year, because clearly he's punting more than the Bears have touchdowns right now.
Yes.
So, yeah.
335
punting yards, man.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's the stats I want to see from Caleb, dude. Like, that's crazy. 41.9 yard average. He did have a long of 62 yards, and he had one pretty bad punt. He had a punt that was, I think it was roughly like 30 yards. It didn't go that far. It's because it might have been a weather issue, but there was one punt that we just gave them really good field advantage, and of course they ran it for a touchdown. And the other thing is again, the way we play with 2 minutes left on the clock on defense. They took the entire field. When we punted it back to them with 30 seconds left, they went back and scored another field goal. Like, the defense here, when there's literally under a minute on the clock, like, It's bad. It's so bad. Their teams are scoring at a really high rate when they get
They're
the ball
giving up
back
at
with
that
a
point,
minute
man.
left.
They are. They're
Yeah,
already
they are.
giving point. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do we have any positives to take away from this game?
Well, there's a few positives, man, and I'm just gonna say a few. The positive that I could say, and I know you can say the same thing, is that Caleb Williams did not get hurt after 9 sacks because it was an overall obviously bad performance by this offense, and he stayed healthy, did not re-injure his ankle from the week before, and we're very grateful that he did not get hurt. And obviously, I know some Bears fans out there maybe want to see a change at the realm, maybe want to see the backup in. I personally don't. I think Caleb needs to figure this out. Obviously, we have a new offensive coordinator now, so this could click for this team and everything, but that's the positive. Caleb did not get hurt. That I can say that's a big positive. Any other positives for you, man? I know it's obviously, but
that's it. I think Caleb not getting hurt is kind of a big deal. I think it's one positive I could say is that it's just another week for players to continue getting healthier.
Yeah.
A lot of the players that didn't play this week definitely get another week to kind of rest up because this was not a game to remember. It's not a game to write home about. So going into the negatives, I mean, we have overwhelming amount of negatives here. I'm going to start off with we recorded 1 sack. 1 sack on a rookie quarterback with a really bad offensive line. And Bears defensive line isn't obviously that strong, but when you have a lot of good key players, a lot of young players that should be out rushing the quarterback, like especially since Caleb got sacked 9 times on their end. Or Jared Mayo isn't an incredible defensive line coach. Like he's definitely good at what he does, but their defensive line isn't even that good. Again, bottom in the league. The offense was completely gone this game. We can talk about that all you want, but it just wasn't there. This game, we can tell that there was a lot of turning on the players and coaches on each other at the press game, at the press conference afterwards. A lot of the talk was how much you trust your coaches, how much you trust your teammates, and all these players could say is, "I can't talk on that topic right now." Like that's just a part of what is going on right now. Players only meetings. I could promise you they had one this week. I mean, there's no doubt that they had a players only meeting. There has to be some kind of changes going. Just bad halftime adjustments. That's something that DJ Moore talked about in his press conference after the game. He said that the halftime adjustments, they didn't do anything until halftime, which is pretty bad as well. I mean, we're already down in the first quarter. There has to be some adjustments made right then and there.
Exactly.
Whereas instead of waiting till halftime, and we were already down like, I forgot what it was, like 12-3 or something. So just bad halftime adjustments. Nothing really going for them. What do you think?
Yeah. Overall terrible game for the Bears. Worst game I've seen, like I already said, I saw a broken record, but worst Bears game that I've seen in years. It was very unfortunate. It's just, this team, there was expectations. Would there be a playoff, push for them? But, obviously within the first few weeks, they were favored to make playoffs. Now they're probably at like a 2% or a 3% right now to make playoffs. The offense didn't click whatsoever. I'm really hoping that this new offensive coordinator, he seems confident. Shane Waldron, when he went up to that, to the podium and stuff like that, he looked lost. He looked like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. And, there's all these clips kind of surfacing about, Jackson Smith and Jigma. He's like, when he got interviewed, like, oh, what are the Bears game with Shane Waldron? He kind of like laughed about it. Like clearly before, the Bears ended up picking up Shane Waldron, it was, actually once they picked him up, players kind of were like, good luck with him, man. And clearly then there's a video of him when he's shaking his, the playbook on week 2. That was week 2, man. This was so clearly he was not the right fit. And I'm glad the Bears not figured out, but I'm glad they did something in week 10. They did something in week 10. They could have went the whole entire year, but I think Eberflus really knows that his job is on the line, literally, and it would suck if the Bears ended up getting a few wins against their division opponent, because I could see Eberflus staying, even though it sounds like a long shot. I know this Bears team, man. If they see maybe a close positive record, they'll keep them. But it's looking more than likely that a change of head coach is going to happen in the offseason. But it was overall terrible game for the Bears. Next week's another week. Jordan Love has been performing well after his, injury. He had a groin injury, and I think he ended up hurting his knee at like week 1 or something like that. So he's a little banged up right now. So, this offense was bad in general. Caleb getting sacked 9 times. Obviously we only recorded 1 sack. There's a few defensive players that we're missing, like Andrew Billings right now. and the halftime adjustments aren't just there, but this new offensive coordinator, I'm actually really excited about, and we'll talk about that in literally right now with the Bears' new moves. But Dan, you want to kick us off with that?
Yes, obviously, as you've heard, Shane Waldron has been relieved of his offensive coordinator duties after just 10 games. He didn't get demoted. He got straight up fired. He got straight up let go from his job. He's currently on the market for any sort of offense position, but he will not be coaching a single game in Chicago. The kind of the census from what was going around the players there was players were shocked. Players obviously were shocked. They mainly went up to the wide receiver room and trying to ask them what did they think of the situation. Keenan Allen said that his main points with Waldron was that he was a little bit too nice, which I could get that, right? Shane Waldron, not a type of guy to take criticism or make adjustments from that or push players to be better. He's kind of someone that's dealing with mediocrity, and he wants players to feel comfortable, which is not what we need, especially if you have a rookie at the helm. He already feels uncomfortable, so he wants someone to kind of push him to be a leader. That was something that was an issue with Waldron. Thomas Brown, next man up. He was the passing game coordinator for the Bears. This season, he got picked up. He is now going to be play calling at the offensive coordinator position. Also, another thing, I think a lot of changes happening at Halls Hall right now. Bears released Nate Davis, is the biggest cap hit in the Ryan Poles era. He was owed $30 million and only got to fulfill half of that contract, a year and a half. He got released off of a 3-year, $30 million deal. That's big news because that's the only offensive lineman signing that Ryan Poles, a former offensive lineman, did his entire tenure. It's the only player he signed, and of course, he's not fulfilling that contract. He didn't even end up starting this year, so he was pretty much a huge waste of money. And but instead of that, now that we had an open roster spot, Bears went ahead and signed center Ricky Stromberg to the practice squad. He is a former center from the Washington Commanders. And he has a lot of playing time. I believe he is a former Bear, actually. I think he might have started off his career in Chicago, but there was also some discussion. The Bears had some discussion about benching Caleb, which I thought was fake news. I thought it was fake news first when I heard about it. But then they did release a report that the coaches were talking about it, and it was an opportunity for benching there to put Bajan in there. But Caleb Williams indeed does remain the starter. I'm happy with that move. I don't think it would make sense. I don't think it would make sense to put Caleb in a position to be like, hey, we failed you these first 10 games. Go ahead and take a seat and watch someone else do the job. No, I think he has to finish his job. I think that even if he plays poorly the rest of the year, there's something about, a rookie quarterback having to finish the job that he started and just getting to know the offense a little bit better, even if a lot of those pieces are going to be moving. But those are the main Bears moves we had this week. Again, you could argue this is probably the most influential week of the year for Chicago. But let's get to know Thomas Brown a little bit. I mean, for all of you guys that don't know who Thomas Brown is, he is a former NFL running back whose career got cut short in his rookie season. As you may know his story. His story is a bit touching just because he's, was a full-time running back, but then ended up injuring, I think, a part of his neck. So then he couldn't continue his career. So he went on to coaching. He coached in college from 2011 to 2019, so he's very familiar with young faces and some of the new guys. He was the running back coach for the Rams. He was the first. That was his first NFL hire. Was the running back coach for the Rams in 2020 during the COVID year. And I mean, you can go through it a little bit if you want, Tyler. He seems like he's got a pretty good. He hasn't played on a lot of winning teams, but he's played on a winning team, right? 2021 to 2022, he was the Rams assistant coach. He was promoted the year after from being the running back coach. In 2021, he was the assistant coach, which they won the Super Bowl that year, which is a pretty phenomenal thing to be assistant coach to Sean McVay. And then in 2022, he got switched to assistant coach slash tight end coach. So you could say that this guy knows a little bit about offensive players, and definitely Cole Kmet, I'm sure, is a little bit excited having an offensive-minded coach that used to coach the tight end position as well as the running back position. That's something that's going to help Cole Kmet out a lot when it comes to blocking, getting open passes, and just being there in the running lane and helping out DeAndre Swift and Caleb Williams try to gain extra yards. That's going to be huge, and he's won a Super Bowl, right? I don't know. We don't know how much of that goes onto the assistant coach's shoulders, right? But it's still part that he was there. He was still part of that organization in the biggest part of that team, right? So he definitely was valuable to them. And here's where we get a little bit dicey, right? Here's where we get a little bit dicey, Tyler, okay?
A little bit dicey.
Stay with me. Okay, so after that, right? After he sits there and he says, okay, I'm no longer interested in assistant coaching positions or any like coordinator positions as a position player. He went on to be the offensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers after also being their passing play coach in 2023. So he first time calling plays at the NFL level. Last season, as you can tell, Carolina Panthers. This was around week 11 that he got chosen to do the offensive play calling after Frank Reich was fired. Obviously the Panthers are the worst offense in the league last year.
The Panthers are bad, man. That's what people got to realize is that I know everyone's like, oh, he was the Panthers offensive coordinator. He did nothing with Bryce Young. Bryce Young is not what he should have been, the number one pick that year. Obviously, CJ Stroud should have probably been the number one pick. But the Panthers are overall terrible. That team was pretty bad. And obviously they only won like one game last year, maybe two. If I recall, it was 2 games. But yeah, it was really bad train wreck for the Panthers last year. And obviously he had to take over duties after the head coach was fired. So that's, it's a hard shoes to fill with him, but it's just, I know a lot of people are like, oh, don't have high expectations for him. Do I have high expectations? No, I do have expectations though. I have better expectations than Shane Waldron. That is for sure, because just from the press conferences that I've been seeing with Thomas Brown, he has been saying, I want to use Caleb to his abilities. I want him to throw on the move. I want him to find his open receivers, and I want him to be Caleb, basically. Be him, be who he wants to be. Thomas Brown recognizes that we have all these key players and, weapons like Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Cole Kmet, all these other people. And he also said that Thomas Brown said that he will not be making the plays called from the sideline. He's going to be up in the press box for all the game, so he can see the overall view of the field and see what the defense is reading him. I actually prefer this. I like this a lot for the offensive coordinator. I like this for any coordinator position. When you're on the field, it's hard to see everything. It's hard to see where everybody's kind of standing. I've worked some games, doing handheld camera with football. It's super hard seeing everything on the field. You cannot see anybody get tackled. Sometimes you don't even know when a fumble happens just because you're on. But when you're above everybody, you can get a little bit of a better view. So I think this is a great move by Thomas Brown, kind of switching it up a bit. And it seems like these players, DJ Moore kind of talked about, obviously, DJ Moore is being DJ Moore right now. He's a little like the season's kind of done attitude, but I know a lot of people aren't too happy about that. But, he did just get paid. And it's going to take time with DJ Moore.
He's part of this team, right?
He's very frustrated right now. That's just what it is. He's very frustratrated. And I would be frustrated
DJ Moore
too.
Has proven himself. I think at the end of the day, if there's a whole conversation about DJ Moore and his actions, he's proven himself. He's a worthy wide receiver one. He absolutely torched teams last year with Justin Fields. So there's nothing against him. If he gets the ball, he's going to make the play. He gets the right to be a little bit upset in this situation. I totally get that for DJ Moore. Can I mention something about Carolina real quick? I don't know if you saw this report today. Carolina Panthers, okay? They said that they are not sold on Bryce Young just yet. Did you see who their number one offseason target is? By any chance?
Is it Shadur?
It is not Shadur. It is a QB that is already in the league, a former Bear.
Talking about Trubisky?
No, it is Justin Fields.
I did not see this, dude. Target. Oh, wow.
Yes, they said that they are not sold on Bryce Young just yet. And if they have to go in for somebody, they're going to go all in on Justin Fields because he's probably the number one QB off the list when it comes to free agent finds. That's interesting. That's really interesting.
It's really interesting, man. All the value and assets they gave up just to get that number one pick to draft Bryce Young, even though he's not panning out to be that best quarterback in that draft. This is crazy, man. It's it's obviously insane that obviously Bears. Being a Bears fan right now and talking about, we can't really talk too much just because Caleb really hasn't been that yet. Obviously, offensive coordinator and the whole team not being together is a big part of it. But it's just I think it's crazy that they overpaid for him, and they gave us DJ Moore, and I know he's a little frustrated now, but that's crazy, man. I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah, that's a big deal for me because being a Bears fan, right? You always hear about how back then it was all about how Bryce Young is going to be better than Justin Fields, and here we go into a situation where Justin Fields might be their next quarterback.
That's crazy.
Let's get back into Thomas Brown here. We don't have enough time to talk about the Panthers. I don't care about the Panthers.
Yuck.
Thomas Brown. So even though he was the play caller for Carolina's last ranked offense with number one pick Bryce Young, this was only through weeks 11 through 17. After that, he did leave and to come to Chicago. In that season with Carolina, Brown, in his first NFL season as play caller and offensive coordinator, was ranked second in offensive coordinators among a players' vote across the league. So he's known. Players know who he is. Players understand his play style. And even though he hasn't coached at a professional NFL level until last season and then partly this season right now, players know who he is and they like him. They like second ranked offensive coordinator, right? We're talking about all the teams that won the championship or made the playoffs or had the best QB. He was still ranked number 2 at the last offense. So that's a good thing to think about. The one thing I can tell you from past seeing the way that he's kind of coached and the way that he's his abilities, he's very run centric. He's a rush head. He loves running the ball. So that's something that Chicago did really well last year. So that's something that I think can definitely push and punish some defenses. That's going to help Caleb. We saw what Caleb looked like when DeAndre Swift had 100 rushes for 20 or 20 rushes for like 100 yards. We saw how much that helped Caleb. So I think that's a good thing. If there's one thing that we know we can do well, that's run the ball, man. We can run the ball really well. And this is actually a pretty funny thing to me. In an interview with Caleb right after Thomas Brown was considered the new offensive coordinator, Caleb mentioned that he didn't have much time to talk with Brown, that he never actually formally introduced himself, that they never, and this is the craziest part, he was the passing game coordinator. He's kind of the man in charge of writing those plays, dude, for Waldron to call, and they never formally met until this week. How crazy is that? That's totally a Bears move. That is not a Thomas Brown move, and that's not a Caleb move. You can't blame either of those guys.
No,
that is strictly Bears management, dude. That's Bears management. You need them to be buddies because now they're buddies, right? Now they're gonna be offensive play callers, and they have no chemistry together yet. So that was a big thing for me. Either way, though, Thomas Brown, I think he's getting put into a pretty good position for an offensive coordinator. Again, you have the pieces in front of you. You have a QB that can make hard throws. We've seen that in the past. And you got a running back room that could get you first downs. And you got a tight end that's really good. An offensive line that's pretty trash. But at the end of the day, proved themselves for 3 games when healthy. In those 3 games that we had a pretty good stretch of rushing and passing and all that. So he has the opportunity to do something really incredible. And we'll see where that begins. That all starts this week with Week 11, Tyler. Week 11.
Week 11, man.
His first coaching stint here. And who do we play in Week 11? You already heard it.
Week 11, man. We got a 3-game home stretch for the Bears. Starting last week with the Patriots. Now we move on to this week. This is, the rivalry that we all been kind of talking about. Bears versus those cheeseheads up north, the Green Bay Packers. Yuck.
Ooh.
But, Packers are 6-3. The last few weeks, they've looked not that good. They've looked a little off, kind of talked about it earlier, Jordan Love's injuries kind of, regressed him a little bit. He's throwing a little bit more interceptions. He's not as mobile like right now at the moment. But this is a big game for the Bears. Obviously, the last week I talked about, that was a big game too. We lost to a 2-7 Patriots game. This is a big game for the Bears. We have lost 10 straight games against the Packers. 10 straight. This is not good for the Bears. And we, it's time for the Bears, to get one from the Packers. This week could be an awesome week. Can you imagine Thomas Brown, offensive coordinator, first game, getting a win against the Packers? That would be so cool. It would be awesome.
That could solidify his job. I'll tell you that quick.
It would. Yeah. So we got the Week 11 outlook kind of for this week. We got Bears Packers at noon at Soldier Field. This game is going to be on Fox. This is going to be a great game because we got Tom Brady in the booth, talking about, it's always great to hear Tom Brady. He's a new analyst right now for Fox, and he kind of breaks everything down. It'll be cool to kind of, hear what he has to say about this Bears team. Obviously, was it about a month and a half ago, he revealed that the Bears were potentially one of his teams he would have been, signing with after leaving the Patriots, ended up choosing the Buccaneers. But I think, just other, they had weapons and stuff like that. But this is going to be cool with Tom Brady in the booth against the Packers. I'm really excited for this. I do have to work on Sunday. I'm going to be watching a little bit on my phone. But this is going to be a very important game for the Bears. We have to get a win against the Packers, man. It's been way too long. At some
point in my life, right? At some point in my life, we got to beat the Packers. But how do you feel? How are you feeling heading into this matchup, Tyler? What's your a comfort level with this game? Is it coming too soon, or do you think it's just right for where the team's at right now?
This is hard. This is a hard question, man. I feel okay about this game right now. Do I feel good? No. Do I feel great? Absolutely not. I feel okay about this. I feel like this is coming in an okay time for the Bears. New offensive coordinator change might kind of spark this team a little bit more. It's going to be an interesting game. It's, this is a big rivalry for the Bears. the last few years, Aaron Rodgers owning us, which he literally did. Obviously that one game when he, came on the field at Soldier Field and did that, super upset about it, but he ain't wrong, dude. He's been owning us. And, obviously look what he's doing with the Jets right now. Absolutely nothing. So that's great for, Bears fans to see Aaron Rodgers absolutely doing nothing on the Jets, but steering away from the Jets going to the Packers. This is going to be a very important game. Josh Jacobs is rushing really well for the Packers. Jair, we'll talk about injury report. Jair Alexander might not play this game. That's just big for the Bears in the passing game. I think Thomas Brown is really pumped up for this game. I hope he's pumping these players up, especially the receivers and the running backs, saying that I'm the new guy in charge. I'm the new guy in charge. I'm ready to beat the Packers. I'm ready to, move on from this, this 10-game drought that the Bears have not won a game. We need to take a game from them, man. We do. We got to take this game, and we're there week 18 at Lambeau. So, yeah, I'm saying I'm feeling okay. How are you feeling about this, man?
I think so. It couldn't come at a worse time. I mean, right, 3-game losing streak. Caleb isn't playing that well. 63 passer rating versus the Packers. That's like usually on their end is an obvious win. This could be bad timing because I mean they're looking at this game as being 7-3, putting the Bears to 4-6, but. That's what I enjoy is being the underdog. And I think in this position, Thomas Brown has the opportunity to do something awesome, right? Yeah. He's got the opportunity to give Bears a little bit of hope for some really good Packers team. And I'm not going to call them really good, but at the end of the day, they're 6-3. 6-3 with some pretty good wide receiver room, a great flowing offense, and one of the best defenses in the league. Like I think they're top 5 in takeaways right now. So that's definitely another part of Caleb's game that he's got to work on a little bit. I think it's bad timing. But what do we have to lose is kind of my perspective. I think we're okay for this matchup. Yeah. I think we're okay here.
Yeah, so it's going to be a interesting matchup for the Bears. I think these players are a little bit more, influenced by the new offensive coordinator. We'll see, obviously, how it comes on Sunday. I would not be shocked if they lose by 14 points. I wouldn't be shocked if they won. But let's just see what happens on Sunday. So kind of going into, kind of steering away from that, just going into what we're kind of looking at on both sides of the ball, the Packers and the Bears. Let's talk about the injuries real quick. So the Packers have a few injuries. The running back Marshawn Lloyd, who's Josh Jacobs' handcuff, he's going to be out. And then their offensive lineman, Jordan Montgomery, is going to be out. Doubtful is another defensive lineman, Colby Wooden. He's out with a shoulder injury. And today, on Friday, limited in practice was Jair Alexander and Evan Williams. I believe they are both listed as questionable. So this is going to be a
big parts of their defense, big part of their secondary 2 players, right?
Big part. And then now on the Bears side of the ball, Bears injuries. We learned yesterday, so on Thursday, that Jaquan Brisker was placed on IR yesterday because of his concussion he suffered in Week 5 against the Panthers on a brutal hit on one of the wide receivers that actually knocked the wide receiver out and knocked him out and been knocked out for over a month now. And he will be out at least the next 4 weeks. I kind of talked to you about this beforehand. I was working at the Chicago Sports Network yesterday doing camera for them. And I ran into David Hall, who does stuff for 670 The Score and everything like that. And he was, even saying, he's like, why did they not place him on IR like right away with this concussion? Obviously, they probably didn't know right away that this would be a bigger issue for Jaquan Brisker than it is. Some people that get concussions can come back that next week. But that was a wasted roster spot that somebody could have potentially filled in for. But I just think the Bears didn't know. And I think I would not be shocked, and I hate to say this, I would not be shocked if we do not see Jaquan Brisker on the field for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
It would only be like the last 2 games potentially because he's out for the next 4 weeks. So what does that make that week 15? Week 15, he can come back. So Jaquan Brisker out. How do you feel about Jaquan Brisker right now, man? I know this is kind of
I mean, concussions are a serious topic. We talked about it last week with Chris Olave. You don't want to rush this, but it seems like he's missing 8 weeks after this concussion. And so it makes you think how dedicated is the Bears staff into pushing him to play again. And I'm sure he does want to play again, but it's also one of those situations like how well can he play and how well can he, persevere through this injury. I'm hopeful for Jaquan. I mean, obviously he's a stud. He's the safety that we needed. He's the safety that replaced Eddie Jackson, and he was an absolute spark last season. So I'd love to see him back on the field. I wouldn't be against sitting him for the rest of the season, just making sure that he's healthy and making sure that he's okay. At the end of the day, it's more than football. It's about the way that he's a leader in the locker room. It's the way that he's a leader in his family. and he's a leader in his community. So he's got to start off by, knowing those details and being there for his people before he's there for his team. So I'm wishing him the best of luck. It's obviously sucks, but what can you do? That's the part of sports, right? And we're thankful that at least it's something that he can deal with and that he can monitor instead of something that we already know is career or season ending. So it's just part of the way the game's played, right? But there's more players that are out this week. I mean, injury from Tevin Jenkins last week at the game that Tyler was at. Tevin Jenkins is out for this week, and then Kieran Amagaji is also out, another offensive lineman, the rookie that we got this season. So that's already 2 players out the offensive line, technically 1 starter and then 1 backup. Kieran got some starts this season. On the questionable side, we have Montez Sweat back as questionable. He's been questionable, I think, each practice for the last couple of weeks. But he did end up, kind of playing through that occasionally. So he's questionable. I do expect him to play because I think he wants to rush back onto the field. And then Tarvarius Moore is also questionable. Yeah. This is a player that's new to the injury report, so we're not exactly sure where he's at on that. But in good news, we lose 2 offensive linemen, we get 2 back. There is no injury designations for Darnell Wright, last year's rookie. Hopefully he can come back and kind of get back and solidify that right guard spot. And then Braxton Jones is well back, or I guess he's a right tackle. Braxton Jones is back as well. He's probably going to fit in right back to left tackle or left guard. And then Darrell Taylor, a player that's recorded a lot of sacks, a lot of tackles early in the season, one of the trade targets that we got from Seattle. He will also be back in the lineup. So
it's a big piece.
Yeah, 3 heavy hitters that are definitely going to help us out. In a good week, too. They're coming back for the perfect week. New offensive coach versus the Packers. Nothing to lose. These players are trying to go all out, I think. And I think that's a big deal. We also can't forget that the Packers traded Preston Smith 2 weeks ago, right? That guy loved playing against the Bears. That guy always had good games against the Bears. He always had 3 tackles or 3 sacks and like 10 tackles. So he's not going to be in that lineup either. I think they're doing just fine without him, but he's, again, one of those massive pieces that we will not be seeing on the opposite side. So that's definitely a welcome sight for Caleb in his first game against Green Bay, which if he has a long career in Chicago, he's going to be seeing Green Bay two times every year for the rest of his career. So we'll see how that goes. Not so bad on the injury side. I mean, obviously Jaquan's a pretty light or strong topic, but it's good to have Darnold right back. I think it's a player that definitely is, again, a foundational piece. So it's nice to have him back in that lineup. What are some adjustments for Week 11, Tyler? What are some adjustments that you think we should do for the Bears? Huh?
This is a funny question because there's a lot of adjustment the Bears need right now, both on defensive side of the ball and the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, the big adjustment they need to do is, Caleb's got to use his head. And obviously, the offensive line needs to protect him a little bit more. He was just getting banged up a little too much last week. Obviously, he's very fortunate that he didn't get hurt. Obviously, getting 9 sacks for over 50 yards of loss. But Caleb needs to be protected this game, obviously, against a pretty decent Packers defense. So this is going to be this big game for Caleb. Obviously on the offense. Let's let Caleb cook. Let's let him cook, man, because he's got an arm for a reason. The main reason why we picked him up, we saw obviously what the whole USC Pro Day show. He was showing off his deep ball, and he threw a few deep balls, which are awesome. Let him do that. Let's see DJ Moore break out in stride. Throw it up for him. If it's an interception, I'd rather let it be an interception, man. At least he tried. I'd rather instead of those interceptions where the offensive lineman catches it for a dumb screen pass. Let's just let it throw up. Let these players make the plays. If they can't make the play, then maybe he won't throw to him again. Kind of like the Rodgers way. That's what I kind of say. If they don't make it, but yeah,
let him make the play.
Yeah, and then DJ Moore needs to be more involved. Obviously, he was a little defeated. I think he's a little bit better right now, just with the new offensive coordinator coming. He might be kind of defeated just because they're in a losing record right now. But the season ain't over, man. We're in week 11. There's 18 weeks, man. We already had our bye. That means we got 7 more games ahead of us. And anything can happen with this Bears team. You can make a wild card. You never know. You never, ever know.
Never know. There's still playoff hopes at the end of the day. I'm hearing a lot of people that if you're a Bears fan, you don't want to make playoffs, which I could care less. At the end of the day, playoffs or not, I just want to see Caleb make some strides. I think at the end of the day, making sure Caleb doesn't continue his regression, make him give him progress, give him some ability to stay in the pocket, make some correct throws. I think it's a big deal. I love what you said about making DJ Moore a focal point, getting Cole Kmet involved, just letting these players have happy days, making them leave the game with a smile on their face. Even if we lose, just letting them know that they're still involved and it's not a mess, right? It's not a full season full season a mess. The defense needs to attack the quarterback. I think is a big thing, especially last week going against Drake May. Jordan Love doesn't get sacked all that often. He does like to run around with the ball in the pocket, but that just gives us another opportunity for our secondary to make a play, right? To get the ball, make some fumbles. I love what Eberflus said. I will say at the end of the last game is that you can always blame the losses, but no matter what, every play is an opportunity to get a fumble, to get an interception. Every single play.
Yeah.
So the ball, boom, ball, quarterback, sack the quarterback, fumble the ball. Boom, quarterback, intercept the ball. Boom, quarterback hits a wide receiver, peanut punch, get the ball out. Every play still has that opportunity, and that's what we need to start working on.
Exactly,
we need to make sure that every play isn't done, right? And I do Eberflus as much of a Eberfluser he is, right? At the end of the day, I still need to give him some respect that he needs to be the person to go out there and try to win this game. Everyone is against him. Everyone's hating on him. Flus, if you're hearing this, I know you're probably not listening to us anymore, but you gotta get everyone involved, and you gotta preach a little bit more football and preach some more dynamic plays and trying to just get this offense going, try to get the defense rushing the quarterback. So rushing the quarterback's a big part, because my next topic here, I was going to say the adjustments. Packers are really good at the deep ball. Packers have like 5 wide receivers that are always getting open. Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, these guys, Romeo Doubs, they're always open, and they always complete these big plays. Even against the Lions, like we're seeing 40-yard throws getting completed on one-on-one coverage. That's great one-on-one coverage.
Yeah.
I don't want to see these plays. I don't want to see these plays at home. I don't want to see any long touchdowns, any long rushes. We have to stop that, right? 2-minute drill. 2-minute drill when they have the ball. Let's get them a 3 and out so we can get the ball back. Instead it's the opposite way. We give them the ball and they score. So you got to be better with these big plays. I think it's a big week adjustment. We kept talking about that since the Colts game. And I think this is the week they got to step up, honestly.
I agree, man. This is a big week for them. Defense, offense, everything. This is a big week for the Bears. Obviously big rivalry against the Packers. Let's get a win, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. I believe. I've always believed. Obviously after the last game I was a little down, but I always believe in the Bears. It could be a new change. New offensive coordinator, new mindset. Could be a new change for the Bears. So yeah, those are some adjustments that we believe need to be happen, obviously for this next week. But let's get on to our favorite topic, shall we? Or our favorite,
time to see some smiles, right?
Yeah. So I'm a little bear down and a little bear frown. So last week was a rough week for us.
Yes, we went a little heavy. We went a little heavy on the thinking the offense was going to be. But you can't.
I think everybody did. Everybody did, man. Yeah. So last week we had 4 different bear down, bear frown things. Caleb throwing for 250 yards. Nope, sorry, that was 120. He absolutely did not cook whatsoever. 1 of 3 receivers to have 100 yards. Nope. Drake May to get 3 sacks. Danny, can you do it for me? Yep. Nope. Only 1. That was bad. Once. That's bad. We have to at least get 2 on Drake May. And Patriots to score less than 17 points. Nope. Sorry, they had 19. So it was close to 17, but still it was close. A bear frown. Bear frown on all those. So they 0 for 4 for us last week. Big yikes. We I think a lot of us did kind of say, me and you did say bear down on a lot of these. I think some of our buddies did too. But let's get into kind of like what we're going to do with bear down, bear frown next week. So I think we have everything right here. Bear down or bear frown that Caleb throws. This is, now we're regressing a little bit, We're like, I know, like 2 weeks ago, Caleb throws for 3 touchdowns. Now it's, does Caleb throw for 1 touchdown, man? What do you think?
I am going to go bear down. I think, again, new passing coordinator. They're going to give him the ball more. If he doesn't throw for a touchdown, he's going to get 40 attempts. I think he's going to get 40 passing attempts. They're going to try to really push him here. And I think the Packers they're expecting that, right? Yeah. Packers defense is expecting new offensive coordinator. They're going to see us trying to rush the ball, but they already know that this is Caleb's opportunity, Caleb's best opportunity this season to try to put himself back on the board, put himself back in the rookie conversation. So I'm going to go bear down on that. I'll go bear down. I'm going to bear down too, man.
Yeah, new offensive coordinator, new mind at the realm. I'm going to go bear down. I think they're going to get a touchdown. I like that. Yeah. Now, with our next bear down, bear frown, number 2, DeAndre Swift getting over 100 rushing yards. Now, the Packers defense, I'm not sure how they are on the rushing side of the ball. I forgot to look that up before this podcast. But this is going to be tough because it's either the passing game is going to cook or the rushing game is going to cook. I'm going to go bear frown on this one. I think he's going to potentially have right around 70 to 80 rushing yards. that is my prediction. What do you got, man?
I agree with you. I think Bear Frown here. I mean, I don't think he's going to be uninvolved. I think he's going to be way more involved as a pass catcher, though.
Yeah.
I do agree with you. Somewhere between 50 to 70 rushing yards, I could see him getting. He's going to be a focal point of the rushing game. Obviously, he'll get 15 attempts easily. But I'd like to see, again, 5 catches. Somewhere between 1 and 5 catches is where I'd like to see him. So I do not think he gets 100 rushing yards. He might get 100 yards in the day, but not rushing.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Want to go to the third one, dude?
Let's do it. All right, so we keep putting a sack one on here until we win. So I will mention that we're always going to put Bears sacks on here because Bears defense is doing really well. It's hard to predict how many interceptions because those are usually based on luck and play calling. But Bears will get 2 or more sacks on Jordan Love. Bear down or bear frown, even though we got 1 sack last week.
I'm gonna go bear down on this. I like 2. I like 2 sacks. We got Darrell Taylor coming back. We got Montez Sweat potentially playing. I believe he is gonna play. I like a bear down on this one, man. I do think the Bears get 2 sacks. I'm not saying 5. I think they get 2. What do you think?
I'd agree with you. Bear down on this. 2 sacks. I think especially with Montez Sweat back, that's another focal point of the defensive line. He's going to try to rush the quarterback. I think that's something that Eberflus is pressuring the defense on, where it's like, hey, if the offense is going to win us this game, defense, let's see what you can do. Montez Sweat, let's put some pressure on you. We gave you that big deal. You've been injured for a few games. Let's see what you can do to pressure the quarterback. So I'm definitely bear down on 2 sacks. I like the idea of 2 sacks. Last one here. Last week, we said that the Patriots will score less than 17 points. Now we're saying, will the Bears score 17 points or more? 17 points, thinking 2 touchdowns and a field goal, right? Somewhere around that range. Do you bear down or bear frown on Bears scoring 17 points?
This is a tough one, man. Obviously, I want to say bear down. I want it because they only have 3 points this week. I have to go bear. I have to go bear frown on this one, man. I could see them gain 2 touchdowns, which is equivalent to about 14 points. Maybe a field goal, which would get 17. I have to go bear frown on this one. I like to be a greedy Bears fan and like to say they get 42 points, but reasonably that's obviously not going to happen. I'm going to go bear frown on this.
All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and do bear down. Bear down on this. I think the Bears will get a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and a field goal. I don't think we score in the first quarter, but I think we score once before halftime, and then we score in the second half, a touchdown or 2 is kind of where my prediction here. I think we score 17 points. I don't know if I don't think the outcome is us winning this game, but I definitely do think the offense can lead a little bit better. Being at home still, again, Caleb, even though he lost his last game and it's affected his consistency at home and his ratings at home, I think he still has the opportunity to play well, right? I think it's still open. The door is still open for him. And I think I could see a scoring 17. So that concludes our bear down, bear frown. Hopefully we can get more than 0 this week because the last 4 weeks have been pretty darn bad. Our goal is to get 4-4. That's the goal for you guys. If you guys are wondering, it's not about if we're right on the bear down or bear frown. It's just if these guesses that we have here are somewhat correct, and the goal is to go 4-for-4. Yeah. That's what we want to do each week. But going on from that, I mean, Caleb has had some pretty bad games. He's had some regression, but let's go through what his stats look like after 10 weeks, right? We're heading into week 11, so these stats are going to change a little bit from one game. But starting off here, I mean, completions 178, attempts 298. That's about a 60.5% completion percentage. He's stayed somewhere around there in the last few weeks. He's been somewhere between 61 to 65. He did drop down a little bit here because he did have a game with over 12 incompletions, but at yards, he's about 1,785. Touchdowns, it remains at 9. It's been the same way since the bye week. And interceptions also at 5, same since the bye week. He's had 40 carries for 236 yards, which I believe puts him at top 10 in the rookies, at the rookie category for most rushes, including running backs or wide receivers, which is somewhat of a good positive. Yeah. And then his QB rating is 38.4. That looks a lot like it did the first week. And hold on, I have a picture here that I'm going to try to pull up, but we can continue talking. I have a list here that shows all the records of every Bears QB and where Caleb matches onto that. So I'm going to try to pull that up and see where he's looking at right now.
Yeah, the one thing that I noticed from this that I could say is a positive is the interceptions. They haven't gone up. Obviously, the sacks have gone up dramatically. Obviously, 9 sacks last week, but 5 interceptions, not terrible for Caleb whatsoever. 9 touchdowns. It should, that number needs to be bumped up a little bit. The yardage should be bumped up a little bit more, going into week 10, after week 10, but that's okay. I think that not having the interceptions at 8 or, at least 8 or 9, it's good. 5 is not bad whatsoever.
So when we're talking Bears QBs, he is right around the same pace as Justin Fields was last season. Justin Fields had just under 2,000 passing yards. Mitchell Trubisky had his single season record was 2,193. And I think he's well in position to beat out that record for Mitch Trubisky. And the Bears' overall record is 3,838. I don't think he reaches that, but I do think that's a number that in the future is beatable by his standards, most definitely. In week 5, here's another way to look at it. Week 5, he had 1,317 yards passing. Caleb Williams did. So he's only had about 450 yards since week 5, which is kind of a worrisome thing, but it's also interesting just to look at. He could pass up Caleb Williams he could pass up Mitch Trubisky quite easily this season, and that's what we're hoping for.
I see Paul in the chat just said Bear Frown. I'm not sure what is he Bear Frown in us? Is he Bear Frown Caleb Williams? Bear Frown, Paul. Bear Frown. Yeah, I don't.
All right, so now's another fun part, right? We went over his week 10 stats, or stats through week 10. Now we're going to give you, after 10 weeks, we're going to give you what we think is going to be his final year projections, right?
This is our predictions.
We did that week 1, and unfortunately, this is a pretty stupid part on our part. Obviously, being as Bears fans, there's a few things that we do mess up on. We should have kept our projections that we had from week 1. Those are going to be way different. So I'm almost glad we did. Here are our projections for what Caleb's season finishes and what it looks like. Todd, would you like me to go first? Or would you like you to go first? Our numbers are a little bit different, by the way.
A little bit different. I could start us off, man, with this. So, So what do I think Caleb's going to end the year with? Obviously, he's a little bit of a drought right now. New offensive coordinator could change that. I don't think it's going to boost him dramatically, but this is my predictions for Caleb to end the year. He's going to have, so right now he is at 178 completions. I think he's going to end up with 270 completions. So about 100 more than where he's at. 2,700 yards. I think he's going to end up with 16 touchdowns. And then potentially the interceptions, I think they're going to go up about double from when they're at. I think they're a few weeks he might have 2. I think he's going to have 10 interceptions. So that is my prediction for what Caleb's going to have. I think 270 completions, 2,700 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. And Paul said in the chat, just the Bears in general. I agree with you, man. Yeah, Bear Frown on the Bears right now.
Bear Frown on the Bears.
This week can be a new week, man. It definitely can. Dan, what do you got, man?
Our numbers are obviously a bit different. My expectations aren't necessarily higher, but they're definitely more passing oriented. I have about 40 more completions than you. I've 310 completions. I think he's going to get 20 a game easily the rest of the season. And then I have him at 2,900 yards. Originally, I had him at 2,700, the same way you had. 2,900 is a little bit on the higher side. I wanted to go a little bit higher just because I think the atmosphere surrounding this new offensive coordinator change is going to help push him to complete more passes and more passes downfield. I think he goes with 17 touchdowns. It's 1 touchdown more than you. And I think he goes with 8 interceptions. I think him passing the ball doesn't necessarily mean he's going to throw interceptions. We haven't seen a lot of bad throws on his part that turned into interceptions. Maybe 2 of those did. But either way, I think he's going to protect the ball really, really well. So there I am, 310 completions, 2,900 yards, 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And the Bears finish with a 6-11 record.
2 more wins, huh? That's what you got. 2 more wins.
And what do you think, Tyler? What do you think is the prediction?
I have to go the same as you, man. I'm going to go 6-10. Or 6-11. I meant that's what I think the Bears are going to end up with. I'd like to say 7-10, like kind of like last year, maybe being the wild card hunt, but they're on the down slope right now. I'm going to go 6-11 with you. I'm going to do the same as you
because we have a really tough schedule. I mean, we have Green Bay, then we get Minnesota, then we get Detroit, then we get Minnesota again, then we get the 49ers, and then I believe it's Seattle.
Then Green Bay.
I don't know if that was the right amount of games.
It's a tough stretch, man. It's a tough stretch.
All teams with winning records are right now at the moment. Yeah. So that's a scary part. But let's go into the next 3 games. Let's just worry about those right now. Yeah. The Bears' next 3 games, obviously we get the home game against the Packers at 12 p.m. Screw the Packers. We have a note here for each team. That's our note for the Packers. Screw the Packers. These are all division games.
Yeah.
Just a reminder that the Bears didn't play their first division game until this week. This is our first division game. So we got Green Bay. And then we get Minnesota at home, which is going to end the home stretch. Minnesota at home next week. It's also a 12 p.m. game. The red hot Sam Darnold. We'll see exactly how that,
he's been regressing a little bit. He's not like how he started off. He's still not in that MVP. He's not in that MVP kind of talk anymore, but he's still doing pretty well for Minnesota.
Yeah, and I will
Yes.
say the Bears have always played pretty well against Justin Jefferson. He's never had any career highs or anything like that against the Bears. So the secondary has always held him in check. And then again, we get an away game at Ford Field against the Detroit Lions. And I have them written down here as the best offense in the league because I definitely think so. I think the Lions have the best offense in the league by far.
They're the best team in the league by far, in my opinion. I think they're the best team. I think they're better than the Chiefs right now. I think they're better than the Ravens. I think the Lions really have that chemistry, and I think they are the best team. This is also the Thanksgiving Day game, man. Where this is Thanksgiving Day, and we all know how the Lions play on Thanksgiving. Always really well because they're always at home, and with the Salvation Army, everybody going in the little thing, and touchdown celebrations. It's going to be a that game is going to be rough for the Bears, in my opinion. But next 3 games, Packers, Vikings, Lions. It's a tough stretch, but I could see us get a win. I don't know. In my opinion,
a win. Yes,
a win.
I think against Minnesota at home is going to be an interesting game.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping for. And that concludes that part. So now we're going to try to finish off the show. Usually we finish it off with some fun facts, but unfortunately these are some unfun facts because there hasn't been a lot of good things to mention for the Bears. So as Tom mentioned earlier, the Packers have a 10-game win streak. They've won all 10 meetings against the Bears in the last 10 games. And then also another part of that is, there you go, Bears unfun facts. I like that. No member of the Bears, players or staff, has beaten the Packers as a member of the Bears.
Oh my God, dude.
No person, no one, not even a coach, nobody, not an assistant, not the ball getter. No one has beaten the Packers in this building. And as a Bears fan, or even the fans, we haven't beaten the Packers as a fan. All right, so Bears scored the least amount of points in 2 games since 2002. That's something I mentioned earlier.
That's a bad stat.
That's a disgusting one. This is my favorite stat. This is one I sent Tyler the second I saw the new offensive coordinator change. Since 1970, when Perry Mason was Chicago Bears' first designated offensive coordinator, right? The first ever player that wasn't just the main coach, first position for offensive coordinator. The franchise has never changed offensive coordinators mid-season until this week.
It's a crazy stat,
man. In Bears history since the first position for offensive coordinator has gotten changed mid-season.
It's crazy, man. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? That's wild. It's obviously something that had to happen. I'd rather have that happen than change. But I think it's also showing a little bit of direction for the Bears, where it's like there needs to be some consistency. The only consistency we have is losing, right? Losing really bad stretches, having a 3-game losing streak, Eberflus not winning away Sunday games. Something has to change by that. And honestly, this might be the change that the Bears needed.
Yeah. It's we're seeing teams left and right, the worst teams, changing coaches in the middle of the season. We had the Saints fire their head coach. We had I heard the Colts head coach is on the hot seat now because of what he's been saying about Joe Flacco starting the whole rest of the season. And now he's like, oh, we're back to Richardson. If they lose, I think he's actually out as head coach this week.
Might be out,
But the Bears aren't. They like to keep the Chicago way. They like to keep the old school Chicago way of things and wait till the seasons to do it to make it look like nobody screwed up. But if something needed to happen, something needed to happen. So I'm glad that something did happen.
I'm happy about it. And welcome Thomas Brown. I know it's not the most beautiful situation, but again, that's someone that could shine a little bit of light on Caleb. Again, that's the most important part. I'm not thinking playoffs. I'm not thinking winning record. I'm thinking Caleb just break some rookie records and continue his growth. Right. That's all. That's what's important to me. So I don't care who's coaching the position. I don't care who's coaching. I don't care who's running or catching the ball, as long as Caleb is the guy. And that's one of the other things I wanted to finish on here is that the Bears are officially on notice. Because again, the only 2 players that this Bears team is keeping, actually I'll put 3 up there, is going to be Sweat, Williams, and DJ Moore. Those are the 3 players that 100% have huge contracts that they are not trade bait. And Cole Kmet, and Cole Kmet. Those are the 4 players that aren't playing for their job. They're players that are playing to play football. They're playing to help this franchise. Everybody else, coach or not, is on the hot seat. So that's something that I want people to understand, that like this team could be subject to a lot of change this offseason. And it just might surprise us how much.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting offseason for the Bears, man. And, let's not think to the offseason right now. We got the Packers this week. It's going to be an interesting game for the Bears. I'm always very hopeful as a Bears fan. Last week, after that Patriots game, that kind of got me down in the dumps. And I just I will never give up on this team, man. I'm a Chicago fan for life. I'll never give up on this team, but it's just going to take it week by week. New offensive coordinator. It's going to be interesting. So.
Oh yeah. A lot of changes to come, but still got to stay excited. Packer week, man. Screw the Packers. Let's go Bears.
There you go. Alex said bear down. I agree, man.
And also tonight is Bulls versus Cavs first Cup game. I know Tyler was saying beforehand that he's not a huge fan of the Cup, and I'm indifferent. I like the whole court and the jerseys, but let's go Bears. Let's go Bulls. Let's go Bulls. Let's get a win tonight. We went 0-4 last year with Cup games.
Against the 13-0 Cleveland Cavaliers, man. Oh, yikes.
Oh, dang it. Why are they 13-0?
How are they 13-0?
We just lost them a week ago.
Yeah.
So stupid. But you know what? Go Chicago teams. I know Bedard's playing his heart out too, so we'll try to give you a little bit of updates with that. But we've been Bears-centric. I mean, at this moment in time, as much as we love the Bulls and Blackhawks, the Bears have the most interesting team and the most interesting dynamic and coaching and all that. It just takes up too much time to not talk about them. So if you guys are interested in hearing more about Bulls, Blackhawks, White Sox, Cubs, and their off-season edition, I know Juan Soto's a big name right now to monitor for any Chicago team, but
Max Fried, there's a lot of other big names too, out there.
We'll give you those updates too, but consistently, we want to cover Bears stuff because Bears is the teams that we love. So
Alec here said, I was at that game. Yeah, dude, that was a bad game. I was there too. Bad.
I'm sorry.
You probably heard my booze from the 400 level up top. It was pretty bad. But and then what did Paul say? Almost beat the Cavs. You're right, man. The Bulls almost beat the Cavs last time. What was it, a 5-point game or something?
Mm-hmm.
So it could be, this Bulls team, kind of just steering away from the Bears and talking about the Bulls real quick. They have shocked me. And like I told people, after that first game with against the Pelicans, obviously they didn't win that game. I watched that game with my grandpa and I was like, this team isn't bad. Are they great? No.
Yeah.
They look like they're like a mediocre good team. They don't look very good. They don't look great. They can get some sneaky wins. 2 days ago against the Knicks, Karl-Anthony Towns had 46 points, the most points by a New York Knick against the Bulls ever. Did you know that?
Ever. I did not know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. Most points, 46 points, Karl-Anthony Towns. And look at what the Bulls did. They pulled up a awesome defensive, Patrick Williams, crazy defensive stop on Jalen Brunson. I actually thought we lost the game. I saw the ball go around the rim. I put my head down like this. I said, okay, we lost. And I heard Stacey King go, "Oh, Bulls won, baby." I'm like, that rimmed out? I didn't even know.
Right? It's a good feeling to see Chicago teams winning. And of course, the Bulls are an underdog team. I think it's a sneaky team. I think the Josh Giddey trade, we're going to talk about all you want, but I think we won that. I think we won that trade. I think Josh Giddey is the premier player that we were expecting him to be, and Arturas Karnisovas made a good deal there. I love Caruso, but Caruso was owed $80 million, and he's averaging 1 point per game right now, right? And he's also injured, so he's not even playing most of these games. But Josh Giddey, props to you, man. I think you're one hell of a player, and I think you're exactly the player the Bulls need. I could see him getting that contract done and being part of the Bulls long term.
I agree, man. But yeah, that's going to probably conclude it for this podcast. Probably starting in a few weeks or whatever, we're going to, start talking about the Bulls and stuff. The season just kicked off, so we're going to kind of let it go for a few weeks. It's kind of hard to do every game because there's a game every other day. But we're going to try to bring you Bulls action. I know the Hawks are performing not too well right now, but hopefully they can, pick it up a bit. They lost to the Kraken last night. I was working the pregame, postgame show at the United Center. Bad game for the Blackhawks, but we'll try to bring you guys all the different Chicago sports that are coming on. Obviously, this is kind of Bears season right now, even though they're kind of in a bad, like what Paul just said. I kind of had this popped up right here. Oh, this is great. Who's better, Rex Grossman or Caleb Williams?
I mean, Rex Grossman took him to the championship, so
brought us to the Super Bowl.
We'll keep Rex.
Yeah, and like Paul said right here, Bears on a cold downward slope, I believe, and they are right now. But we're going to try to bring you guys everything that we can weekly with the Bears. We're going to come back next week, talk about Bears-Packers, recap that game, and then also preview the next week for the Bears against the Vikings, which is going to be another big game, another division game. But like we said, Alex said, don't skip Paul. I think I did skip Paul. We said, who's better, Rex Grossman or Caleb Williams? Right now, obviously Rex Grossman, across the Super Bowl, but Caleb, rookie year. Let's let him get over his rookie year and with this new offensive coordinator, and let's see what happens. That's funny. Don't skip Paul. I will never skip you, Paul. We'll never skip your guys' questions. But
never.
Like we said, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate all the the subscribers, the likes, and the the listens, however you guys watch our podcast. You guys can always comment. you guys can always shoot us a text, whatever, if you guys have any opinions about things we do.
Yeah.
And, and we're going to, bring you guys the best in the Chicago sports action every week. We're going to try to do that for you. So,
oh yeah. Thank you guys for everything. We do
final
this for
thoughts
you
before
guys.
we leave?
We do this for you guys. I mean, obviously we love talking about sports, but Tyler and I can talk about sports all we want. We do this for you guys to give a little bit of a recap and see where our heads are at, because we're longtime Bears fans, and not just only Bears fans. We're longtime Chicago fans, and we want what's best for this city. And this city
Indeed.
has had some dark times this last decade or so, unless we're talking Cubs. But you know what? It's time to move on, and that's why we talk about Bears, because we were super excited about it. But we do this for you guys. There's I take time out of my day to make sure that we can talk to the several other Chicago fans out there, and we appreciate you guys a lot.
We always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy your Friday night. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy that Bears game on Sunday at noon at Soldier Field. And as always, bear down.
Bear down. Tune in next week, guys. See ya.
Thanks, everybody. Dope. That was great, man.
It's good to touch up a little bit on Bulls, obviously, because